and all the celestial bodies are there. Celestial bodies are the heavenly bodies. The universe is endless and vast, very, very vast. Then in the universe, we have stars. Now, what are stars? Stars are those heavenly bodies or celestial bodies which have light and heat of their own. Now, the closest star to Earth is Sun. Then the next closest is Alpha Centauri. Then we talk of the constellations. Constellations are basically the collection of stars. Now, we have a number of collections known as maybe Small Bear or Ursa Major, or in Hindi as we call it, in Hindi we call Saptarishi, where we see the pole star. Okay, bye class. I end this class now. I will not take this class. Because of you children, I am not going to take this class. Arjun Agarwal, जरा बात करो मुझसे. Arjun Agarwal, talk to me right now. Your mic is open.
Ma'am, I can't able to mute my mic.
Okay, then you sit properly. Don't make any noise there. तुम्हारे यहाँ गाने की आवाज आ रही है मुझे. And everything is
Okay,
getting
ma'am.
recorded. This recording goes to father. I have switched off your mic. Now don't touch it. Okay? Don't say okay also because it will not be heard. So now we talk of the pole stars. Now pole star is basically the pointing star, or in Hindi which we call Dhruv Tara. Then planets are basically uh, the it is taken from a Greek word which means wanderer. Okay, then planets have moons as their uh, what do you call companions. Okay, they revolve around the moons or the satellites. They revolve around the planets. We talked of galaxies. Galaxies are the cluster of various solar systems counted as one galaxy. Now we live in the galaxy called Milky Way. Okay, or in Hindi we call it Akash Ganga. Now the other nearby galaxies are Andromeda Galaxy, which is also spiral in shape. Most of the galaxies are spiral in shape. Then we talked of the solar system, that is our solar system, in which we have the sun in the center and we have 8 planets revolving around it. Then the solar system also consists of the 8 planets, the sun, then satellites, millions of asteroids, meteoroids, and countless comets, which together form the solar system. Then, while we were doing solar system, we did the first heading, which was the sun. Now, the sun was basically was dealing with the center. The solar system in the center has the sun, which around which the planets revolve in a particular path, which is known as the orbit. Then we talked of the 8 planets, where we discussed in detail all and everything about the 8 planets. Now, today we take up, right now, we take up the new heading, the Earth. I would like each one of you, before you move on further with me, today's explanation is explanation number 3. And I would like you all to go through explanation 1 and 2 again so that you get a proper briefing of the chapter. Because we began this chapter in April, then there was a break in between because the classes were terminated. So now we begin with the new heading, the Earth. Now, the screen is visible for sharing. Please go ahead. The Earth is the third planet out from 149.6 billion kilometers away from the sun on an average. So Earth is 149.6 million kilometers away from the sun. It takes 365.26 days to orbit around the sun. So the one revolution, the Earth completes in 365 1/4 days. Okay. It is the fifth largest planet in the solar system. It is slightly flattened at the poles. That is why its shape is described as geoid. Geoid means an Earth like shape. Okay, that is a shape of an orange. Now, if you see an orange at the tip and at the bottom, it is slightly flattened, whereas it is bulging in the sides. So Earth is also of the geoid shape, which is flattened at the poles and is bulging at the equator. It is considered a unique planet because of the following reasons. Now, there are a number of reasons which makes Earth a very unique planet. Now, the first one is it is the only planet in the solar system to have water on its surface. So, water is only available on Earth, which makes life possible on Earth. And the second reason which makes it unique is because of its distance from the sun, its rotation, and the atmosphere, its are temperatures are moderate. It is neither too hot nor too cold. So the distance from the sun makes a lot of difference. Had Earth been at Mercury's place, it would have burnt into ashes because of the heat. If not burnt, at least life would have not been possible because the plants and animals would have burnt. But the distance from the sun, where the earth is moderate, and it keeps a check and makes life possible. Then the third important reason what makes earth a unique planet is it has an atmosphere which contains life-giving gas called oxygen, and other useful gases also like carbon dioxide, nitrogen, etc., etc. So all these things, the atmosphere present around the earth makes air, which makes our breathing possible. We take in oxygen and we give out carbon dioxide, which is used by the plants, and the animals and human beings depend on plants for their nourishment. So all these factors make the life possible on Earth. We next come on to the new heading called satellites. Now, the satellites are small celestial bodies. They move around the planets in the same way as planets move around the sun. So just as the planets move around the sun, in the same way, these satellites, they move around the planets. They are popularly known as moons. Now, satellite, this word came quite late. Earlier, they were all these satellites were called moons. That means every planet had their own moon. The moon is a satellite of the Earth. Now, Earth has one satellite, that is the moon. We have only one moon, whereas in other, like you, if you can see, uh, the other planets, they have even more than one moon. Then we talk of artificial satellites. It is an artificial body made by man. It is designed by scientists to gather information about the universe or for communication. They are carried into space by rockets and placed in the orbit around the Earth. They have many uses, like they take pictures of cloud formations, which help in weather forecasting, TV broadcasting. For example, India's INSET satellites are used to take such pictures. Some other satellites are IRS and EduSat, etc. Please underline these names, the names of the two artificial satellites which they have given. Then also the third one is INSET satellite. Now they are telling you that these various artificial satellites are man-made satellites which are launched in the orbit of the moon, and they revolve around the planet Earth, and they take pictures, they tell about the weather forecast, they tell about various other things. If the storm is coming, etc., everything is notified beforehand, and they also take pictures of these things. Then the TV channels which you see, all these different TV channels have their own satellites launched, and it's quite easy for us to get the signals. The mobile that you deal also deals with the signals. Okay, so all these things, these are artificial or the man-made, so artificial satellites. Then we come on to the next heading. The natural satellite of the Earth is Moon, and we come on to the next heading, that is Moon. The Moon is the Earth's only natural satellite, lying at the distance of about 384,000 kilometers. That means 384,000 kilometers away from the Earth. Its diameter is only one quarter of that of the Earth. That means see the vastness of the Earth. It is just one quarter of the Earth. Okay, the diameter. It appears big because it is near to our planet. The moon moves around the earth in about 27 days. It takes exactly the same time to complete one spin. So moon revolves and rotates and finishes one complete rotation and revolution in 27 days. Okay, so please come to the fact file here, this side. Rakesh Sharma, underline his name. He was the first Indian to travel in space. He spent 8 days in space on board the, what is it, Salyut 7 space station. That is of Russia. Okay, this space station is of Russia. He went there along. He went along with the Russians. He joined two other Soviet cosmonauts abroad, the Soyuz T-11 spacecraft, which blasted off on April 2, 1984. Okay, so this information you just need to know it. Okay, underline Rakesh Sharma. Now we come on to the moon and its phases. Okay, you can see the picture here. I will open this picture only so that you see it clearly and correctly. Okay, and I'll keep reading and explaining to you. Now you see Earth in the center, and you see the moon with its different phases. It's waxing and waning. That means when the moon is growing, it's called waxing, and when it is diminishing, sorry, yes, when it is diminishing, it is called waning. So let's see. The moon does not have conditions favorable for life because there's no atmosphere, and without it, there is no sound, no water, no vegetation, and no life. So life on moon is not possible because there's no atmosphere which could give us air. And then since it's a vacuum there, there is no sound which could travel. There's no water, no vegetation, and so the life is not possible. And you will feel very surprised because there on the moon, when the astronauts go there, they talk on the phones or the walkie-talkie. They cannot talk directly because sound needs a medium to travel, and there's no medium also, there's no air, so it's a vacuum there. So even if you talk, your voice will not be heard by the other person. So the two people, if they go together on the moon, they will be still talking to each other on a walkie talkie. Okay, so all this is not possible, the life is not possible on moon. The surface of the moon is scared and craters. So it has a lot of bumps, and the surface of the moon is uneven. It is full of craters. That means big, huge cracks are there, and it is very uneven. There are mountains, ridges, and plains. These cast shadows on the moon's surface. Now, if you see the moon, the full moon, you'll see number of craters, number of shades. The moon doesn't appear fully white. There are number of craters, there are a number of shadows of high mountains, etc., and ridges which are there on the moon's surface. So look at the full moon and observe these features. You'll see them. If you look at the full moon, you'll see that it is not fully white. It is basically having some black shades of images, and those are the craters and mountains, ridges, etc. The moon has no light of its own. It shines only by the reflected sunlight. The portion of the moon we see at any given time depends on the angle which the sun's rays make with the moon. The moon always rotates on its axis, facing the earth all the time. The lighted portion of the moon we see also depends upon its position in the sky in relation to our earth. First, we see the thin crescent, then the full quarter, followed by gibbous, and finally the full moon. So you all can see how it is of a crescent shape. When you see the picture of a new moon, that black moon is the new moon, which is there, but since it is lying in between the earth and the sun, it is appearing from the earth, it appears black, though the moon is present. Then it comes in a crescent form. Then it comes to the quarter. Then it starts beginning, it is called gibbous moon. Okay? And then there's Full moon, after full moon, again it starts diminishing. Again it is of gibbous, then half, then crescent, and then again new moon. So you all can see new moon and full moon on the screen here. Visible and clear? Okay, first we see the thin crescent, then the full quarter, followed by the gibbous, and finally the full moon. The phases are repeated thereafter in reverse order, namely the gibbous, the last quarter, the new moon again. These various positions or stages from new moon to full moon through which the moon appears to pass are called the phases of the moon. So if you see the new moon, उसको हिंदी में हम लोग क्या कहते हैं? पूर्णिमा की रात. Okay, the full moon night. Whereas the new moon, when the moon is not even visible, at that time we call in Hindi the Amavasya. Okay, that means the no moon. But in fact, the moon is always present. Why? Because we are not able to see, because it is coming in between the sun and the earth. So the people on the earth will see the shadow only. So it appears dark. Okay. Then we come on to asteroids. Now we stop at asteroids. We'll finish off the chapter in the next class, and after that, I'll be giving you the question answers, etc. to do. I hope I'm clear till here.
Yes, ma'am.